Pause for thought and join in the barking with Darren Rowe on The Mindful Dog.
It is time to talk dogs with Darren Rowe, Mindfulness for Dogs, joining us in our Waikato studios. Morning to you, Darren.
Hi, Mel.
Nice to have you back in it because you've gone back into level 2. So once again, some sort of normality in Waikato. Long may that last, because who knows with your COVID cases bouncing all over the place. But nice to have
talk
you.
About that.
Yeah, exactly. La 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 la. COVID, can't hear it. But nice to have you in the studio because obviously quality-wise, it's always a joy, isn't it?
It's lovely, yeah.
Talking on a mic. Now we're going to be talking about dog parks today, and if you do have a question about your dog's behaviour for Darren, you can get it into us right now. 0800 844 747, or text as well if you want, 3920. Dog parks, what's the situation with them? They are a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, they're kind of both, really, I guess. And I think one of the most important things is that we're just coming out of lockdown, and obviously Auckland will do the same, and everybody's going to get their dog into the dog park because they're going to say, you know, the dogs haven't been out, they haven't met their friends, so they're going to throw them in the park. And I spoke to a dog control officer quite recently, and she said that's just the bane of her life for dog parks, because that's where all the aggression happens, all the bad behaviour happens, and people just don't quite even realise that their dogs are learning such bad things. So in essence, dog parks are great because they're a safe place, yeah, and they're a place for dogs to learn how to socialise. You know, they get to meet all these different types of dogs and that sort of thing. But actually, if owners aren't watching their dogs and kind of like making sure they're doing the right things, a bit like small children again, isn't it? A playground. Really watch them, then it can be a disastrous place for dogs. Completely. Okay,
so it's not just the place to go and let your dog go free while you have a gas bag with your friend. You do have to pay attention.
Not. Yeah.
So what are some of the things that could go on then?
Yeah, so rather than talk about the sort of things that you should do, I thought I'd just highlight some of the issues that could happen so that people can be aware of them. So the biggest one for me is obviously aggression, and it's really about not a dog being aggressive, but a dog being scared and then being aggressive because of being scared. And remember, dogs are quite sociable, but if they feel that they're being threatened when they're being approached by another dog, even the nicest dog in the world will end up being aggressive or potentially show aggression. And I've had an example of that yesterday actually with one of my dogs, and we bought this little tiny puppy young dog. It was like a bully breed cross with a herding sort of dog, and it approached Twinkle, my gorgeous little border collie, who's now nearly 18 months, we decided, and as he came forward, it kind of sort of rose up and went over her shoulders, which is never a good sign for a dog. If you see that in a park, you know there's going to be a fight. And Twinkle wasn't having that. And what she did was she did that air snapping. And anyone who's got a border collie knows that they air snap, and they kind of like snap forward, and the jaws go together. It sounds awful. And then they back off. And the person with the puppy said, "Oh gosh, your dog's aggressive. We shouldn't let them mix." And that's what happens. Then most people would drag their dog home. But what's actually happened? That's how border collies set the boundaries. Sorry, apologies. That's how border collies set their boundaries. And then 2 seconds later, these guys were playing. But most people would have pulled them apart and taken them home then, and there would have been no learning going on whatsoever.
So did you tell the owner of the puppy what was going on? What was what?
Yeah, so she kind of got it in the end, and then her puppy was a little bit sort of funny, and it was a little bit aggressive occasionally because it hadn't been socialised, a little rescue dog. But quite often we mistake all of these things, and we think that our dogs are being aggressive when actually it's just standard communication. And more importantly, the dogs never learn then that it's okay to be told off, because it is actually okay to be told off if you're doing something stupid. Okay,
so aggression because they feel a bit threatened, that can be an issue at dog parks.
Yeah, and the other thing is learning bad things. I mean, I shouldn't laugh really, but I do. When I go to dog parks and I'm doing some training with someone, I'm normally outside doing the training, and I'm just watching people in the dog park, and their dogs are running around, and the amount of times I hear the word Fido, 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 and the dog's just thinking, yeah, that's my name, and they're just running off and doing whatever else they want to do. So there's an old saying in dog training that if a dog's allowed to repeat a behaviour, then it's going to become a habit. So if they can repeat bad behaviour over and over again, then it's going to become a habit. So just think about all those bad behaviours that your dogs are doing, and you're letting them do that in the park, run away from you, not come back when called. They're learning every time you do it that they don't have to do it.
What do you do then if they run away and they don't come back?
So don't take them into a dog park unless you've got a recall.
And how do you get that recall?
You have to practice. Practice. There's things called restraint recalls. Again, dog trainers can help you. Loads of online stuff about recalls that you can get, but really get that solid recall when there's no dogs Because if you haven't got it when there's when there's no dogs around, you've got no chance when there is a dog.
Fair
But
play.
if you think about it, that's when the trouble starts, isn't it? Because your dogs are getting super excited, you're trying to call them back, and they're not coming, and then it just goes too far, and there's a big scrap.
Yeah, well, that is true. So aggression and learning to do bad things. If you do have a question too about your animal's behaviour for Darren, make sure you get your questions in. 3920 is a text, or you can call 0800 844 747. So what else is an issue at dog parks?
Yeah, so one thing just on that learning bad behaviours is that just even getting the dog to the park, that's where it all starts. So I don't know what what most people's dogs are like, but they get super excited going to the park, don't they? So you get them in a car, they're barking their heads off, so they're practising and learning how to bark in a car. And then you get them out the car, they probably jump out the car before you really even open the door properly, so they've learnt to go through boundaries without being told. And then you put them on a lead and they're dragging you to the main entrance to the park, so they're learning to drag you on the lead. So all those bad behaviours that they're learning before you even get into the park, and then what do? You throw them off the lead in the park and expect them to behave. It's just not going to happen, is it?
No.
So putting those boundaries in place and making sure, and as we say, practice makes progress, so you're never going to get it perfect, but putting those boundaries in place before you even get in the park is definitely going to help you to sort of get some kind of buy-in from the dog when you're in the park.
Okay, so up your ownership and actually make sure that you know what you're doing as well.
Training. I think that's what it's called, yeah.
Training, right.
Then the other thing is owners are not up to the task, and I see this unfortunately too often. So dogs are living, breathing